got a 2004 Taurus. I don't know if that counts as a classic car. I'm pleased today to introduce Ryan Swanson. Ryan is the Associate Vice President for Facilities and the University Architect. Ryan joined us here at Kansas State in the fall of 2013. He came from Wake Forest University, where he's a university architect and director of planning, construction, and space management. Ryan is a licensed architect with LEED certification and has a Master of Architecture and an MBA from the University of Nebraska. So he's local, and it's great to have him back. And as you know, there are a lot of projects going on campus that Ryan is overseeing. He's going to give us an overview of some of those, and we'll talk on the North Corridor and what some of the plans are. There's more to come. So watch for that in the coming days, but he's going to give us just a little bit of preview of all the activity that's going on campus. So please help me welcome Ryan.
Thank you. Let's see if this works. Sorry about that. No worries. It'll come back on. Okay. Hopefully you won't hold it against me that I'm a University of Nebraska grad. That's happened a number of times.
We can fix that.
During the 80s and 90s. Okay, but glad to be here now. I'm going to focus on the majority of the projects you see on campus now. So I do have a little bit of a master plan at the very end.
You can hold that.
Does that work better?
Yeah, probably. Slide right on.
There we go. Good. I'll be better if I walk around. This is a document that we developed in-house. It's got everything on here except for foundation property and veneer up north. All the purple buildings are construction sites. The gray areas with dashed lines around them are, for the most part, delineations of where construction sites will go over the next 2 years, with the exception of geosciences, which wouldn't start before fiscal year 17, which is summer of 18. And that one is half private funded, half state funded, and that one just got pulled off our state list. So it's at least not for 2 years for geosciences. Everything else, every other project is on here. AP design, depending on what time of day you look, may be allocated. We believe it is. That's coming out of the Educational Building Fund, so we're planning on that building moving along too. So the blue line, something I want to point out, some of you know what's going on campus. Many of you may not. The blue line is a campus chilled water loop. So up here in the upper right-hand corner is a new chilled water structure. I got some images for that one. The blue line's a loop. Right now we've got a straight north and a straight south and an out and back. So if we have a break in the line at the end of the line and we have to valve it off, everybody downstream is just out of luck. We will have a loop now. So we can break the line at any point, fix things, everything stays up, everything stays online, and we're good to go. So that's a major accomplishment for a major university, whether you research or undergrad focus. No matter who you are, you like the loop if you're an engineer. So, and I'm not an engineer, and I still like the loop. The old plant, which we call the plant, right, is no longer, we don't generate power there anymore. We do have switchgear in there. The majority of it's steam and chilled water that comes out of there. The steam stays there. The chilled water units that are in that building stay there. So we'll have two chilled water plants. The north plant will obviously be more efficient because they're larger chillers. But we'll have 2 plants then feeding water to campus. One thing you do notice, we run steam up to Vet Med. There's not a blue line that goes to Vet Med, but there's a very good chance in the future we go ahead and tie in Vet Med also. Vet Med has its own chillers, but to give them some redundant capacity, it'd be a good idea to tie that in someday eventually. So, to start, I'm going to go in chronological order of projects. At any point you have a question, feel free. I've only got 25 minutes, so I'm trying to go fast. All right, so West Stadium, early rendering, early image. Yes, you can see the green roof in back, and yes, it's going to look great when it's done. So, this is the south half of the building has been renovated. You can see here 2 parts to this. The gray area is still just a dirt floor. This is underneath the West Stadium. The south half is where we moved our purple mask theater to. Phase 1. Phase 2, we call it Phase 2 and Phase 3, could be swing space. We think that's about a $7 to $8 million renovation, and we do not have that funded right now. It's just out in the future, so it's potential space that we can renovate. An interior image. This is an artist rendering, and I was going to take a photo, but it looks about the same in there, so it's actually pretty nice. It's where that was underneath the black box theater was on the east side. So the reason they moved to the west is because they were on the east side. You need to get them out of the east side because we're putting in the student services and welcome center on the other side. So a little bit about the tower. So the Kansas limestone's great. It looks good. It's a wonderful material. After about 80, 90 years, if you get up close on it, the stuff that has flint in it is pretty much fractured, and you can almost grab it and just pull it out of the wall. The other stuff that isn't more flint-like, that has more flint in it, I'd say flinty, but I was told that's not a term. That has more flint. The stuff that has less flint content over time tends to deteriorate, so it gets very porous. So everything on the tower, we rebuilt the towers not the whole way down, but we rebuilt the top part of the turrets. Everything from the corbel is where the stone starts to step out. Everything from the corbel up has been rebuilt, and then about 20% of the field stone in the wall has been replaced. We're also doing the same thing to nickels. I think nickels we're about 2.8 million stone on nickels, and we're about a third to halfway done. So the students that fought to save nickels, we're going to be into it about 7, 8 million by the time we redo the stone there. Something to know about campus. We're probably underestimated on our stone work and our stone renewal on campus. I think that's one of the things we found with our deferred maintenance list. A lot of the buildings have much more extensive stone repairs that are needed than we realized. So still looks great though. And I'm an advocate for saving it, no matter if it does cost something. But I've been to Duke and a number of East Coast schools, and you tend to have a very nice cohesive material through campus, which is nice. So when I was at Wake Forest, the master planner for Wake Forest was Jens Larson. He wrote a book in '33 for the AIA that talked about campus plans, and he references University of Colorado, their sort of fieldstone. Wake Forest was a Georgian red brick. He talks about Stanford and what they do, and he mentions campuses like K-State that have this limestone. So it's a regional material, so it's a nice fitting into the universities across the country. All right, the green roof, east side. So the Bernie Family Welcome Center on the east side. We're under construction right there now. We'll renovate the entire structure the whole way through. Sorry, just one picture. The entire building, it houses the Welcome Center, so it's all the juniors and seniors that come to decide to go to K-State instead of Kansas, University of Nebraska, those kind of schools. So we're gonna attract them here and show them a great time. And you start on the south side, you work your way through the north. It'll be the first place you come to for a lot of folks to come and seriously talk about coming to K-State, and for some, it may be the last place you come in and interview for that job offer. So the north half has interview rooms, so it's a career services area, which is another wonderful asset for the university that we'll have. All right, veneer. We'll keep the stadium concept going. So I threw veneer in. Again, we're just chronological. I think this is the only image I have of veneer, and it's looking a lot like this right now when you drive by it. So they're farther along than we were with when I got here on the west side. So we're much farther ahead of the pace that we were with the West Stadium. So I don't think there's any issue with being in there this fall. All right. Practice fields. Got a little everything here. So soccer, we'll no longer have the equine program, I believe, in a year, but we will be adding, and that's because the NC2A is dropping collegiate equine. We have to have another program, so we're replacing it with collegiate women's soccer. And so it causes us to have to rework the field. So I think for the first year, we're going to play at the Memorial Stadium. Eventually, we don't have it worked out quite well. We're going to play the final games. But the practice facility will be up here for those of you that know the baseball stadium, you see that there. And that work's going on right now. So you ride by there, so much going on, it's hard to ride by part of campus and not see some kind of construction. But it's a synthetic turf, so it's not the old AstroTurf. It's actually, I call it field turf. That's a brand name, and it's not field turf. It's the other company I can't think of. So field turf and AstroPlay, but it looks like turf. It'll play just like the stadium floor of Snyder Stadium. But the soccer, so the one closest to the road is field turf, and then the two football fields that stay practice fields, those stay natural turf. So we've got artificial and the natural. All right. Engineering. Starting to look like that. Quite a few of the louvers are going up on the side of the building. What you can't see from the road is the actual extent of how far this extends back through. So this is essentially the fourth quad, finishing out the three quads that are there before, and it's the whole southwest quadrant, and then lobby all the way back to the east side. So we get a really nice entrance on the campus side coming through. We are doing some things over behind the old plant to try to clean that alleyway up that folks walk from the Central Park campus, which is a bit of a, the old Lafine Health Center's there, and students still go back there to drop their friends off, and you come screaming around the corner and someone's walking in, and I've been an advocate for closing that off, and a few people don't like that I've done that, but a couple people park back and drop their friends off, but we are making that corridor behind the plant up to engineering much more prominent, so we'll work on that over the next couple of years. Go back. So they're working on some of the rain gardens right now. You can see the red bushes. There is a nice rain garden, so a lot of the stormwater that comes off the roof will get collected there. Probably a timely discussion, given everything else that's going on. Of course, this is going the other direction. School of Business. Yeah, love this building. Yeah, what are we? We're up to 162,000 square foot. I think it was 120, but great building. We had, I think, one sort of what I would call monumental or historic tree that's right at the entrance that we had to cut down. But for the most part, when I got here, we started reconfiguring everything. So before it was a great big box, we sort of pushed out during the program, pulled it back, pulled it off Manhattan, North Manhattan. The building that you see when you go over there now, the steel, fits into the gap that's there. So you get a very traditional look from North Manhattan, and then it kind of cradles around the backside. It does have campus lines on it, so it fits with campus. Justin Hall's right next to it, a little more modern building, so it fits in there. Goes back to some of that, little more of the international style buildings that were, I think, the 50s, 60s, 70s, sort of post-war, but this one is done very well, I think, in terms of building. So, that's how it sits on the site. Again, saved a lot of those trees, which was important. Yeah. Feels like deja vu. This is, when I left Wake, I just finished the business school. It's about the same square foot. Similar situation. They jumped 14 points in national rank after we built the building. They had the #1 accounting undergraduate program, combined the graduate and undergraduate together, and they just vaulted up. So buildings do matter to rankings. Some great images. These are all Ebert Mayo and PGAV's renderings. I didn't cite everybody, but I should probably have done that. But you can see the business school sitting down here. Way back at the beginning, there was some thought that, hey, maybe this thing shouldn't go on this grass area down there. In my mind, I think it emphasizes you get this nice elliptical thing going with Anderson Hall, President's House in the middle, and the business school down there. So there's this, if you think of the ellipse in DC, we've got something very similar here going. You see how the business school kind of cradles around the backside of the President's House. Should be a really nice walk, really nice space. Another shot of it in relation to Justin Hall. I know I'm going too slow. I'll speed up. View from Manhattan. I don't know if we'd actually do graduation outside. Probably wouldn't have. Well, it would have worked maybe. Just a shot of what could happen. There's a 3-story atrium space that overlooks Manhattan to the east. The burnt orange are the classrooms. The gray area is the atrium. So that atrium in some places goes up 3 levels. Image from the interior. So open, transparent, collaborative study, all those kind of words that that you would use in the business community to get you out of the learning of when I was in schools in the classroom, and now it's out of the classroom. It's group study. It's out in the atrium. It's meeting your professor out there for coffee. It's meeting your other students. A lot of group studies. We have a number of group study rooms and an open atrium space. Jump to Res Hall. So Marlette Good now. You can barely see him at the top of the page. This is the new 6-story Res Hall. It's on top of 2 floors of food service. This was an image that I grabbed. We did this before we added the 6th floor, so we added one more floor for pennies on the dollar. We got an extra floor, so we're 540 beds. Marlette Good, now this is what you see going up the tower crane. Notice we were able to add the bridges that go over to Marlette and Good now. Marlette and Good now will stay red brick. There was a thought at one time about reskinning the entire building. Not initially an advocate of that, but just an idea someone wanted to paint it. Architects in the room, that's not a good idea either. Not in our climate. They are what they are. But we do have a connection back to Marlette and Good now. All the students that are in Marlette and Good now will eat over the new food service, so we could save the old building. We're adding on to it and renovating it. So this is total a $76 million project. Business is 55. Bids on that one came in really well. Stadium was about, I think 8.6 when they were done. Not linear, but deadline. And then the Bernie Center is about 18 million, thinking back. So just some more aerial images. All right. Kansas limestone's great. It's really expensive. And when you get up that high, we do have the yellow is the Kansas limestone, and we've got some metal panels just to help make this thing a little more economical. But that's an image of it sitting there. All right, Equine Performance Testing Center. This is behind Vet Med. This one has not broken ground yet, but we will later this summer. It's more of a diagnostic area for the large square is more of an open arena, and then the smaller square. I say you go over there and horseshoe in there, but that's you don't play horseshoes actually. There's a CAT scan and some other equipment in there, but it's instead of walking all the horses for confirmation outside on the open area with all the cars driving by and everything, gives them a place inside. So this is it was a $2.8 million building. Early estimates came in a little over 3. We're trying to get it back down to 3 if we can. But that will be behind Vet Med. This is worked out in conjunction with a larger master plan for the Vet Med site, and I will show an image at the very end of the North Campus corridor that has a few buildings around this, but we are working all those in. Union. Students have about a $25 million bucket of money that they have raised or plan to raise the student fees. I think when we first started this, the early estimates were pushing probably into the 60 million for what they wanted to do. You could probably easily spend 70, 80 in here. We're at 25, I think we're gonna jump to 30, probably 32, they're gonna find some more dollars. But the student union, completely student funds for the student fees. This is the south facade, the parking garage is over on the right side of the image. The idea would be to the yellow beams you see is the structure that's sitting there. We just pulled that facade off and add some glass to try to open that student union up a little bit. Y'all have been here a lot longer than I have, and I'm telling you things you already know, but international style, modern architecture, the 40s, 50s, 60s, post-war, it was light-filled, it was open, it was transparent, and I think at times we've added onto the building and kind of made it where it's a hallway you walk through, and the idea would be to try to bring some of that back, bring some of that transparency back into the building and open that up. So that's the concept here. It looks like there's a great big hole in the middle of the building circle. It's not where I cut a big circle, but it's to get a bit of the term when you're designing unions now is they call them sticky spaces, and it's overused, but the idea of a sticky space is you come in and you stick, you sit, you talk, you hang out. Our union is very much a come through and walk through the garage to get out of the building to the other side, or you come through and grab something and go. The idea would be to have you sit and then spend some dollars in there so we can actually keep the union going. So we need students to come in and drink more $5 coffees, I guess. There's more than just that. you can see a sports pub on the south side. We've got a few other pieces in there that make it a lot more friendly. We won't renovate the entire building, portions of it though. Bookstores, campus bookstores. Last campus I was at, the post office, we had to create a great big package delivery room. Students buy their books on Amazon.com now, a lot more than they do the bookstore, so you don't, our post offices are getting bigger, our package area and facilities where all the packages come in, the students buying the books is a lot larger. Not many of the books still churn through the bookstore. So, a great place to sell K-State t-shirts and sweatshirts. You don't make a lot of money on books anymore. All right, chill water plant. The big square on the left is the actual plant. This is up north of Weber. It's the old wind erosion lab, which is now a recycling facility. That's the white structure. There's a thin strip that's got circles in it. Those are the cooling tower locations and the big squares where the chillers will go. We had a great looking building to start with. We pulled it back because it was a chiller plant. It's still, if you think of BRI, this is the tilt up. If you look at BRI, the front piece is limestone. The back, the two-story portion that's in behind, that's what this will look like. So it's a tilt up piece. We pulled about $1.5 million out of the facade and made it a square. It just didn't seem right to spend all that money trying to recover out of campus. So it won't look bad, but we did have a nice 20, 30 years from now, this is going to be right in the middle of the research corridor right there. It'll still fit, but you can tell I'm an architect, I'm drawing on that too much. Kirk liked the idea of the windows. I proposed this. The chillers will sit, these are 2,900-ton chillers, so think of a tanker, like a gas tanker sitting, that's about the size these things are going to sit behind those windows. So we have an engineering school. It'd be great to be able to walk by this thing and actually see the engineering going on inside there, so we'll have that. Right, 4 chillers, 2 go in day 1. Purple lines go over the tower. Red line is the warm water back from campus. Blue line is the colder water going out. Yellow are electrical gear. So basically you take electricity and convert it into cold water, pushed out of campus. Gives you an idea of the scale, there's a stair tower. So day 1, 2 towers go in. Most folks don't realize that we have these in the middle of campus behind the plant, but they're behind a great big brick wall. So that thing spent a lot of money hiding it. And we're not spending all those dollars up here. We actually just have the cooling towers that are open.
Couple of minutes.
Oh no. 14 truckloads showed up the other morning. Right, Claflin, turn up Claflin. I just took that this morning, so that's a fun picture. And those are all, well, you can see that for scale, you can see the guy walking over there on the right-hand side of it. Right? Most of those are 36s, some are 42s. That's what's going on under campus. This is not our campus. This is an image I was using earlier to tell them what's happening, but that's very much what's happening on campus. Early image, just what's going to happen to Mid-Campus Drive. I'm going to go quicker because there's some things I want to show you at the end here. All right, so month by month, that's where we're at right now. Summer, we're on to Claflin, and we're down here moving past the Fine Arts Corridor, then towards Beach.
Next fall. Batteries are dead. All right.
Turn you off.
Okay. Ding. We'll be north of Claflin next fall. We'll be back. So architecture, AP design. We're at about 75 million. We're through CDs. We're into CDs now. We're through DD. We believe we'll be demoing the old part of the building. So I'm going to point out here. We're demoing the garage area. The mechanics hall stays and Seton Hall stays. Those get renovated. Some images of the interior. Again, the old and new coming together. I think there's a lot of concern about how modern that building's going to get, and we acknowledge that. When you get into it, it's going to look, the old parts of the building will come out. Right, so Seton Hall is the white building on the top of the page. Mechanics Hall over here on the bottom, and then the new building that's in back. And you can see on the master plan, the Lathine Health Center still to be raised someday. We keep going. Mid-Campus Drive, so 17th is a pedestrian mall now. When you come out the backside of the parking lot, you'll see that when we close that back up, it gets a 26-foot wide sidewalk. We'll have some lights and some, again, Mid-Campus Drive, the master plan has that closing. That's mostly for pedestrian vehicular conflict. We got students across the street, cars trying to go through there. The master plan has that closing. We're going to close it next year, not this summer, but next year. You can still get a fire truck down there. You can still get service vehicles down there. You could still even open it up after an event at the McCain in the evening and get back out. I know that some people like to get back out across campus that way when things are going on. So we still have the ability to do that, but during class hours, the intent is that it's a closed road. Keep going. That's the very end of it. So 2 years from now, or a year from now, we'll be wrapping up Seton. Seton will probably be wrapped up a little before that. Geosciences, that's the last building. Geosciences, this is a program that's been approved by the Regents. We don't have funding for it yet. Geosciences is, anybody here from Geoscience? Okay, so I can say whatever I want. But, I think it's, part of the intent is to latch on to the oil and gas boom that's going on. Right? You've got other schools that have programs, and it would be a more robust program. So gas prices went down, our funding kind of slipped away. So more images there. Got it? North Campus. Keep going. This is the Mid-Campus Drive. I'll leave this one with you there.
Are these all online somewhere that you can look at?
Yeah, you can go out. If you go to facilities webpage, I've got a webpage that has all of my information for all the major capital projects there. And you can get all the program statements, you get the images, you can get the chill water, you can get this presentation. It's all out there, so you can get any of it offline. So. I'll leave you one more. There you go. I'm all about native, natural plants. That's the foundation building. And that's what's going on up there at the foundation property. Coming up to the website. So.
Wonderful.
That's
Always
it.
more.
Yeah.
More.